Hello, welcome to the Vacay Podcast. I'm Ryan Alford, your co-host, joined by my good friend, my business partner, Chris Hansen in the Vacay Lounge down in Miami. What's up, Chris?
What's up, my man? How are you?
Fabuloso. Every day is a good day. Every day is a vacay for us. You know how it is. Always. Speaking of which, I'm holding my favorite product. You know, our sleep gummies. If you go to takeavacay.com, VAYCAY, you can learn all about all our products. But I'm telling you, sleep is every study you're reading now, every wellness journey is about you got to have the right sleep. This is our favorite, most reviewed product and my favorite. So takeavacay.com, official sponsor of the Vacay Podcast. And, you know, I'm excited about our new guest today, Michael Hernandez. What's up, Michael?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, you know, we're just on our own journey. It may not be sovereign, but it's a journey.
That's a good segue. That's a good segue.
CEO and founder of Sovereign Journey.
That's it. CEO and founder.
There you go. What's up, Michael? I mean, where's home?
Where's home? We're in Tampa, Florida right now. It's becoming the new Miami, you know, guys. It's been here longer than Miami, but it seems to be taking off in its own right. It's been good. It's really nice out here. The weather's finally freaking fixed itself, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's actually nasty and rain here in South Kakalaki, also known as South Carolina. But it's
that's where you're at. I thought you're not in Miami with Chris right now.
No, I'm in G Vegas, also known as Greenville.
G Vegas.
Greenville, South Carolina.
Dude, Greenville's not so bad.
No, it's cool. It's actually a cool place. It's, I don't want to promote it too much. It's already out there. You know, too many people already moving here. So
don't move to Greenville, please.
Don't fuck it up. You know, it's got a good thing going here.
Sure.
Michael, let's set the table for everyone. Appreciate your service as an ex-Marine, but let's tell everybody a little bit about Michael Hernandez.
Well, you know, start from the beginning. I'm a child of trauma. You know, I didn't come from a very good home. I grew up in Miami. I grew up in the Kendall area, and some bit of Hialeah. So Chris knows about that. But you know, Miami's good for two things, guys. It's about cocaine and scams.
Yes.
A lot of that, right? So I grew up very, kind of an only kid. Because my brothers and sisters are closest in age were probably like 8 or 10 years older. So I grew up an only child, and it's not so divorced home, battered home for sure. And that made me an effective leader and effective Marine going into the Marine Corps. Started some combat, came back injured, and went into the fire department and the paramedic too. So I decided to serve the local community here in Tampa, and that only worked about five or 7 years before I put myself in some serious burnout, because it just wasn't really doing what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to help the community, going back into the stuff, just doing the complete opposite of what I did. I always found myself in the service capacity. I love to serve others, and it just didn't fit right. I ended up I had a really bad altercation, and it kind of threw me into some of my own personal wellness and healing. Became a yoga teacher, and then I went to a 33-week Wim Hof thing in northern Poland. Did that whole trek and became an instructor there, and try to bring this. I generated my own little healing practice for myself through yoga, cold water immersion therapy, breath, and developed this whole thing to help me dive a little deeper into myself holistically. I definitely have done ayahuasca. We could talk about that. I've been doing LSD since I was 16. So I've been doing it off and on just to help with my healing, and I do as well take people on some psilocybin journeys, MDMA journeys, LSD journeys, definitely help with the mindset. My whole premise is to help, kind of, I hate using the whole woke method, but to wake people up to what their actual human potential is. Like, what are you living your life to the absolute fullest in what you're doing in your life currently? And then the majority of people aren't, because they're fucking working these jobs that freaking wear them thin. They're sitting at a desk and they're or, just that mundane family life, and you're not really taking care of themselves, because I like to use that analogy. You're on a plane and the stewardess says, hey, why don't you put your oxygen mask on before you put anybody else's on so you can help them. And I've taken that analogy it was given to me my yoga mentor, and I've taken that through my entire life. I cannot help anybody unless I've taken care of myself first. And I take that with me through everything. So my personal wellness and healing practice is way more important than anything else, so I can actually be a force multiplier for people out here that I actually do serve in this community. I'm a strength conditioning coach, yoga teacher, resilience and mindfulness and resilience coach, overall lifestyle coach, and the business that my business partner Keith and I, we started off doing men only, and we brought the practice of my heated primal yoga, resilience, cold water immersion and sauna, and then going into a 1 hour breath session with my business partner Keith and I. And we've built a small pocket of something that not many people, not really anybody's doing. And within a 4 hour workshop, giving the ability to help people expand in their mind and kind of like crack the door open to what they're actually possible and capable of. And through there, we've started doing retreats in Utah, an expedition, like a 5-day expedition in back desert of Utah in the canyons. Like, you're disconnected from everything. And Alaska. Alaska is going to happen again this year. And it's completely disconnected. And it's a little bit of the expedition, but also deeper dive into your shadow, things that you haven't worked on or repressed in your life, and help people move forward into a more healthy mindset, and then physically as well. We can do hard things, and showing people that you can do hard things is extremely important to us.
A lot to unpack there, Michael, but no, I mean, there's a lot of different paths my brain was going. I was like channeling, like what road to go down. And I want to back up for a second, because I do think,
yeah, go ahead.
With where you sort of started a little bit, because I don't want to just water that down, like your service, as a Marine. And, what I have to imagine, I don't know, and I want you to enlighten, me and the audience, but coming back from that, being thrown into what we call normal when nothing's normal for you, and what that experience is like for soldiers that come back.
So, I mentor a lot of vets coming back from, even with the transition. We don't really do well in the military of helping vets transition into a normal life. And what I mean by that is, we're all kids. Most of these guys are kids. Some of them are officers. They get out within 4 to 6 years, but a lot of them had we were given a giant set of purpose, right? So we're given this purpose as hey, we're out here doing humanitarian things, helping the world. And in my generation, we call it the GWAT generation of veterans, that didn't seem so true when we're in combat 6, 7, 8 times, over those 20 years was huge, right? So it's not, we found out the government really doesn't give a shit about us. And then when we get out, we're validated by the fact that government doesn't give a shit about us. So it's very hard for us to no matter how many vets go to get their VA service and they get denied help, and it's completely disheartening. So now that you've got no purpose, you're out here, nobody gives a fuck about you. It's upon you. And that just comes back to I try to tell a lot of vets, is you're gonna have to do this on your own. I had to figure it out on my own, especially with my mindset. I just dove into holistic approaches, but 44, the actual number of day that veterans commit suicide now is 44, and 44 a day. We were told 22, it's actually 44 a day kill themselves. And that's because there's a number that the VA doesn't consider, because these are the numbers the VA doesn't have on them, because these are guys that don't apply to the VA. So it's disheartening. For me, my process coming back, it took me a long time. To be perfectly honest, probably about 12 years to feel somewhat normal and a part of society, because I didn't have purpose. I couldn't connect with people. I felt like I couldn't connect with people. I was in a lot of victimhood mentality. And And it was hard, man. It was just that coming back is we lose our brotherhood, we lose our purpose, we lose the ability to, communicate with normies, right? Like we lose a lot, and we lose our jobs in that way or another. Like we're so used to and it's different because those 20 years is about a combat generation of military that come back to this, and some places in the United States are a lot worse than being overseas, to be honest, depending where you're at. I mean, it's bad. You can look at Seattle, Chicago, you can look at all these freaking big cities or New York that are not really doing well. And you can put a veteran in that, of course, you're going to get some freaking problems, and it's just, it's not easy. And I've done a lot of, we have a nonprofit that helps, we pay for guys to come do our retreats and our workshops. And there's a lot of guys out there that are just, trust is a big thing, and they don't have any trust, right? And when you lose trust in your ability to get help, they feel like they're alone. And they feel like also when they feel like they're alone, they feel like they're burdening others by giving them talking about their problems. And that it's disheartening. And I don't want, if this gets out to any veterans, understand you're not alone. If you need help, just freaking reach out to anybody. But if my number is going to be in this when you guys close this out, so if you guys just put that out there now ahead of time, if you guys need me, please fucking reach out, because I'll gladly talk to you.
And this is where I really have a problem. My dad served, a lot of my family served. I didn't, but we have a lot of people that take up these causes with things that they classify as issues, and we have several generations now that are being raised to not understand that men and women are overseas fighting for our freedoms and in harm's way, or not in harm's way. They're over there but to serve the country. And the lack of appreciation for veterans is criminal. And
it is.
And not only because we have generations not being raised to appreciate or even understand that freedom isn't free, but to then not take care of the veterans when they come back, and the lines at VA hospitals and the issues with getting medication and it's fucking insanity.
Yeah. I just heard a comedian speak to something. Some guy yelled up and said, "Hey, what do you think about the military?" And the guy goes, we did the U.S. did the greatest thing it ever did. We overglorified veterans to the fact that we don't have, since we did that, we didn't set up, instead we overglorified them, so we don't have to fucking pay them and care about them. So the whole the whole age of thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Is they're like, we did that so we didn't have to do this. And it fucking sucks, but it's so true that it's so real that he said that. I'm just like, damn, that's so honest, and it should be pushed out. Yes, there's a lot of people out there that can say thank you for your service all day long, but I used to walk around so bitter and be like, you thank me for my service? You should live a life that's worthy of my service. I want people in the United States to live a life worthy of the service we lived over there, of the things that we did. And it's me. That's my bitter self back in a long time ago. But now I just say thank you and I move on.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you in that mind space. I more just want to raise awareness that people don't appreciate what people have gone through. And
I just think they don't know.
And no, they don't know. It's because they didn't get talked about. It's not. It's and to your point, we glorify these holidays and we do things that throwing firecrackers up, and it's and I'm not saying, here's what I appreciate about your attitude already, is you don't have this victim mentality. At the end of the day, veterans have to come back and they have to want to get well and and have the drive to do it. But if anyone deserves a little bit of a hand, it's veterans. So, there's so many people that have pity parties that do all this shit that make nothing of themselves and cry about everything that didn't serve. And so
it's it's a good point. At the same time, it's just like we have to. I bring it back to how men are nowadays. Like I'm going to say this, and probably a lot of people are going to fucking be crazy. Is that, like I said, a lot of veterans that went in were boys. You got to understand this. Like and most of them came from the background that I came from in a severe traumatic thing. Those are the ones that were diligent and great at combat, right? So, so it's really hard to when they get out to have any motivation to want to fucking help themselves, because they're still fucking kids in their head. Unless you went to college and went to college after, or made something of yourself and found a way to get to that angle. But most of them were kids. So it's so easy to fall into the entitlement trap, the victimhood trap. It's so easy to fall into that. And there's no clear guidance when we get out to like help people with that. In the middle, that's the DOD's fault, not the VA's fault, right?
Yeah.
At first, that's the DOD's fault. The DOD's fault is there's no proper guidance in how to tell guys, hey, look, there's nobody going to be here holding your hand every step of the way, like there is in the military. Like there's somebody for everything in the military. When you get out, there ain't nobody for anything. When you get out, you're by yourself. And a lot of these people don't want to go live back. Some guys go live back with their parents to get that kind of, feeling. Some guys don't. And then they get lost in translation. Then they try to get help. And it's hard because you have to be really diligent about getting your care at the VA. The VA is good once you get in, you learn how to work the system, but it has a lot of faults. And if you're not willing to push through the fucking bullshit, then you're going to fall to the wayside. And they don't give a fuck. It's like, because you're either you try and you continue to go forward and move forward towards it, or you just fall in the pitfall of hell. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. At the same time, when go back to what I want to talk about, it comes down to, especially men, you have 4 boys. So here's a question I'm going to ask you guys. It might fucking throw you back a little bit. When do you actually think you became a man?
I was 30. I don't know.
That's an honest. Why do you think you became a man at 30 then?
I had enough life experience and, like finally looked in the mirror, like I think men, they say, women mature faster. I don't know if that's true per se, but maturity doesn't mean manhood, like I had a job and was mature and very successful at 25, but I don't know. I think I became accountable when I was 30, and accountability, I think, is a high part of the definition of becoming a man or becoming an adult or whatever we want to classify it,
Yep. But what my point is that it's not like we're indigenous anymore. We have a rite of passage as men or women, right? It's not like we go into the fucking woods. Our leaders go, hey, we've taught you everything we fucking taught you. Go fucking in the woods and don't come back till you survive. And you're like, we don't have that. And it's the same thing as kids going there. These are kids going in the military. These are kids going in the fire department. These are kids going to police work. They don't have life experience. And you say accountability. I was like, for me, it was like 35, right? Became personally responsible for everything that's happened in my life to move forward from it and find a new outlet for me. Like I personally became responsible with everything. That's all the fucked up shit I've done or the shit that's fucking happened to me. And that's where I move forward. And most guys, I've had ages from 19 all the way to 70 come to our workshop or retreats. And most of them will tell you the same thing, that I'm still becoming a man. Which, think about that. Like in our society right now, we're having toxic masculinity and all this fucking shit out here. Like, there is no clear definition of what man is supposed to look like. And it's kind of fucking crazy if you think about it.
Yeah. I don't really care what you look like. I just want people to be or act like or whatever. That's not for me to judge. I just want people to be accountable and be a good fucking human being, and we got a lot of that not happening, and
that's because there's hurt people out here hurting people.
Yeah.
Right. They're not taking personal responsibility of the things that happen in their life, including their mindset. Right. Like that's what Keith and I bring to the table when it comes to our brand, is that the only way to increase your human potential is to dig deep into all the shit that's messed you up in your life. So you're not taking that and confronting other people with it. You're accountable of your actions moving forward. But, you know, a lot of men and women are not really taking their emotions and their feeling states into accord. Like they don't have any control over that. So that's what you get, people that aren't kind, that aren't, you know, present at the table, present with their family, present with themselves and their friends, is that you're just getting these people who just fucking hurt, acting like assholes. So this is something that's the business is working towards, is trying to find that human potential for people to just live a more kind and, you know, accountable and responsible life.
I love that. And it's right. Yeah. And so, Michael, talk about, you know, you went down the path a little bit, the holistic wellness, you know, some of the alternative techniques and things like that. Pun intended, what opened your mind to all of that?
Man, at a young age, 16 in high school, when I first got a hold of some LSD, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like my mind was like I was digging in the deeper, like, you know, I'm talking about, I don't know how experienced you guys are, but like I've done like half a sheet in.
I've never done LSD. I've done mushrooms but I've never had LSD.
LSD's on the radar though.
LSD is one of those things that's non-toxic, right? You may think like you're losing it. It's a little bit, you can navigate LSD a lot easier than psilocybin. Psilocybin is one of those things, it's going to take you where it's going to fucking take you. And where it needs to take you, where you need to go. You could be intentional about it. That's why it's good to have a guide there for psilocybin. But LSD is, you can like find a target and you can head towards that target, which I really love about LSD. It's one of those things, like all these things are non-toxic, right? You can take a shit ton of them, but I'd recommend not to, especially setting is so important to the psychedelic journey. But LSD is one of those things that I found really healing for me, especially all the stuff that I've done, and it probably made me more level-headed in a lot of different environments, in a lot of really toxic environments and fucking violent environments. It made me like really see things for what they were. Psilocybins, I fucking love mushrooms too. Because it always takes you where because like I said, if LSD is intentional, I can take it and go a different direction. But psilocybin, I'm like, oh, I have to work on this before I get to this. You know what I mean? That's what psilocybin does. Kind of like, it's the same thing with most plant medicines. Kind of like the same thing with ayahuasca. It's the same thing. It's going to take you where you need to go, not where you're asking to go.
Yeah.
But setting is important. I take people on like long hikes, take people to the beach at night, and I do everything outside. I think it's extremely important for setting. Not to say we can't have fun with a microdose going into like, you know, a fun environment, but for a macro dose, I never recommend that going into a fucking like club or some shit. Like that's just not okay. And that's where you hear bad trips come, which I don't really ever believe that there's a bad trip. I just believe that you're not understanding where you're at in that moment. But yeah, I believe in psychedelics as a way. So just to give you context, for me, my injury, I had a severe traumatic brain injury, and psilocybins and a lot of the other holistic things I've done for myself has actually increased the neuroplasticity in my brain. Meaning like all the spots where I had a lot of CTE are kind of gone now. Like I have like CTE when I was in, also I take one every year, and I take a CT scan, and my whole brain is lit up now. It's just was not like that before. Like it's almost like I'm a 16-year-old again, and I wasn't able to read for too long because of my trauma-induced dyslexia. Now I can pick up books and read them like I was 16, and move through them rather well. And my cognition and my retention is that much better. Like I believe in all this stuff, and it has a purpose for us, and that was kind of removed for us for government reasons, right? So they don't want us to have a lot more free will thinking, a lot more ability to just like think for ourselves instead of the collective being controlled by, you know, whatever the environment you're in.
What do you think separates Michael I think this is probably some of the debate on either sides, kind of the stuff you were just talking about. But like the psychedelics for a purpose versus an escape, you know?
I think all drugs have the ability to have an escapism in them, not just psychedelics. I mean, you can escape in weed, you can escape in, any kind of psychedelic. And then escapism is a big thing in our culture because we just, like, again, it comes back to mental health. That's why people escape. That's why people have addiction. It's their trauma in their life that they're not targeting, right? So that's why people escape, because they're just trying to run away from their actual problems. There's not, I can't remember the doctor's name, but he literally talks about it. There's no such thing as addiction. There is a thing as escapism. People are escaping their lives that they don't want to deal with. And they're using every kind of medicine out there and doing fucking barbiturates, they're using Prozac, benzos, any drugs a fucking way to escape. It's how's the mental state of the person using them is where we need to talk.
Yeah. And you know what? You just said something that really unlocked something for me. They talk about social media being addictive, and we talk about all this AR stuff. Mm-hmm. Social media and drugs put you in AR, in an altered reality, or they if you see it and feel the world this way, you want a lens over the top of it. It's like putting sunglasses on in this room. It changes the field of view and the experience.
Right.
And, drugs do that, but social media does that. And anything that, triggers dopamine or does whatever, all these things. But the government and where the pharmaceuticals want to be the judge, jury, and executioner of which filters we put on.
Exactly. Which is unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. It's because they're like, oh, we can use this pharmaceutical drug. It's like, yeah, I can fucking take oxys all day long and fucking escape my whole entire life, which has killed millions, by the way. And I was like, so does alcohol, right? I'm not shitting on alcohol. Like I'm like California sober. I haven't touched fucking alcohol in 2 years. And man, my brain development is completely different than it was when I was drinking socially or drinking at all. But it's choose your poison, but also people need to understand the poison's in their head. It's not these substances. We can go on the same thing as I don't fucking listen, guys, I'm not going to go on a rant here about guns, but it's mental health. Yeah. It's the same conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same conversation, right? These are inanimate objects. It's the mental health crisis in our fucking country that's causing the majority of the fucking problems. And you're right. Social media is another drug. It's no different. People escape into it every day. What fucking ass picture do I want to see from this girl today? What fucking dance? God damn, the dancing shit's fucking crazy, right? Not that I care about people dancing, but get the fuck over it. It's just like I try to.
Chris was practicing his TikTok dance right before you came on.
But at the same time, it's like you're right. It is another form of addiction, and it all has one thing. This is a Venn diagram, right? It all circles one thing. How's the fucking mental health of our society? It's fucking shit, guys. Yeah, it really is, and it's unfortunate. Yes, veterans have it. Yes, first responders have them, we consume 10 times more antipsychotics than anywhere else in the country. 10 times. This country consumes 10 times more than anywhere else in the world. That's fucking disgusting. It really is. And I don't know, man. And I don't know where to attack it. I tell people all the time, I was like, I can't think worldly. I can only help people that are in my field that I can reach out to and help.
Yeah, because it gets overwhelming. It gets overwhelming when you try to tackle too much. Like, I have a pretty good ability to kind of create the circle that I can influence, and tone everything else out, but because you have to be able to do that, because you can't. They say how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. You can't eat that whole thing at once. And, it's like nature or nurture with the mental health stuff. And I think it's a little bit of both. but I think it's a lot of bad nurture, unfortunately.
My drill instructor would tell you it's Mothers of fucking America has ruined this country.
You're what?
Mothers of America.
Mothers of America. There's an actual nonprofit called Mothers of America. Like goddamn it, they've ruined this country. I was like, I don't believe that, but at the same time, I was like, it's the nurture as what you're bringing to the table, like
or lack of nurture.
Yeah, well, honestly, yeah, like we've used the government as our ability to nurture instead of actually believing the household can nurture, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know. Just because you can procreate doesn't mean you should.
Correct. That's a very.
I had this conversation last night.
I mean, and I'm not judging. I mean, I'm not even the one that's necessarily. I'm not lining up people to judge them. I'm just saying it's a fact.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe think twice before you do.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes with
your
responsibilities and things that people aren't ready for, and I think that's part of it. And if babies having babies.
This generation is the ones that's not having as much babies as any other generation.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want fucking kids. Which is great. Thank you for being fucking responsible for once in your life.
Yes.
Generation Y or Z, whatever the fuck we're at. I don't even know what the hell's going on right now. I try to stay out of it.
Talk about a little more about Sovereign Journey and what that path looks like for men that come on.
Man, since we're expanding into a lifestyle brand, we're moving towards everything, right? I guess this is my reach out for going to that overly worldly thing, right? I'm not Greta Thunberg, though. I'm not fucking trying to fucking change global warming, guys. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just trying to change my field, but trying to expand upon it, really. The idea is to really bring the expansion of human potential to your doorstep. How do we do that? And we do that through doing hard things first. Like I think when people can believe they can operate in the discomfort instead of, and also find that comfort in all of the discomfort, they can expand upon that in their everyday lives. And I think that's what we're really like trying to look forward. And when we do that is like giving people the opportunity to be uncomfortable in a relatively safe environment. But listen, this is like my brainchild for like the rite of passage, right? How can I find people? How can I get people to have almost rock bottom and then being able to express whatever it is they need to feel and whatever they need to expand on in their minds so they can move forward upon that, right? How can we do that? And that's what Sovereign Journey has done really well is we fuck with you right at that barrier of the rock bottom to help you get to that next point, because there is no growth in comfort. It's a slow, painful fucking death, guys. Like anytime I got comfortable in my life, it was like the world took its fucking 5 fingers and just smacked me across the fucking face and put me into the worst situation in my entire life, which I needed to have, right? I needed to have that to grow. And I no longer live in a life of comfort. I live in a life of discomfort, and I fucking love doing it because I know it brings me closer to a growth period. And that's what Sovereign Journey is doing. We're setting people in places and having events that really flirt with that ability to challenge you to grow in certain ways, but also create safe spaces, especially for men, because we don't really have safe spaces to go to so we can actually tell our problems to. And you're around other men, and it's a closed container. And that's what Keith and I do, is create a safe container for men to come to actually express themselves however they show up in that day. And it could be like crying, it could be yelling, it could be laughing, whatever it is. It's an opportunity to, allow yourself to feel like you guys are both men. You're a father, Ryan, right? Like, that there's certain things in your household you probably can't express, or you feel like you can't. And that's the kind of environment that Keith and I set, because we set that environment. It's like, hey, you can come here and express whatever the fuck it is, and just lighten the load off the shoulders a little bit, because we don't have those outlets anymore. It's not like a lot of guys don't really create meaningful relationships. And we need that. Men need meaningful relationships with other men that we can go to, like, bro, my day sucked. My my fucking wife or my girlfriend's acting like a fucking lunatic, and I don't know what to do here. Like what do I do? Like, or at least off gas a lot of the shit that they're thinking about, so they don't spiral into like escaping into fucking drugs, escaping into that Instagram and whatever. Like we need, goddamn, like porn's fucking out of fucking control with a lot of guys I know.
Yeah.
Like, it's I can talk all day about how men are doing bad things for themselves, but just because they don't have meaningful relationships, they don't have meaningful purpose in their life. Like there's nothing in their lives other than going to work, coming back home, being a dad. Like you said it, you just don't have much of a social life because you have your business, your kids. Like when does Ryan have a time for himself to be Ryan?
When I'm sleeping. I don't know.
But this is what Sovereign Journey creates. It creates an opportunity for you to go and have a time that you can have for yourself and go on a retreat that you can it's nothing but you have to worry about in the whole freaking scenario to make yourself better in some way or another. And that's what Sovereign Journey does.
I love that.
Yeah, man.
Chris, I'll open it up here. Let you pick Michael's brain.
I just compliments, bro. Like Michael and I met in Tampa probably a year and a half ago, and literally in a sauna. He was running a sauna class I was in, doing cold plunge and sauna. And obviously your vibe, everything you were talking about. And like you said, bro, part of me, I'm looking for those meaningful connections with men. Yeah. And you were a dude like I vibed with rather quickly, where I'm like, all right, this guy is living and speaking in a way that I want in my life. So obviously inspiring, but just seeing this evolve. And I completely agree with you. It's funny. A lot of what you're talking about is honestly what I went through in some rehab centers. They take you out in the woods. You're getting physically tested. You've got some mental stuff, they leave you alone. And, but also providing those safe spaces and containers. And that's been, for me, you nailed it, dude. And I told a lot of people, even part of me moving to Miami was wanting to connect with more aligned men, living how I'm living, building businesses, but consciously, all that type of stuff, where I'd got to the point, I have my business partners and whatnot, but outside of that, I didn't have a whole lot of real tight male connections. It's kind of weird being a grown man. Like, I need to make friends, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you go to a guy at the gym, like, what's up, bro? Like, you want to be friends? Like, it's different. But now more than ever, I believe we need that. And almost like that warrior culture, like guys to train with, guys to hold you accountable. And I do have some of those guys. And I read something recently where, like, if you're in a bad spot and you have a guy, like some of these guys on your team, 8 minutes is all you need, from what I understand. 8 minutes to vent. Someone, and it was kind of saying, if you're in a bad situation, text one of your boys, like, hey, bro, you have 8 minutes just to hear me out. I got to blow some steam off or whatever. So I think it's becoming a large conversation. Everyone's been so independent, and that's great. But I think, man, dude, I always think back to like the Romans and the Greeks and shit, like these warrior schools. Like you said, every man had to have a rite of passage, whether you're going in the woods, doing fucking peyote, by yourself, and the Native Americans or whatever. And when you ask, when you become a man, I look at all those situations, the rehab, jail, whatever, these sitting alone in the woods, all that shit, dude, was part of my like darkness in a way. It was pain, but that was all seeds being planted and watered.
That's it.
I'm a firm believer. I mean, that's why I love the ice plunge, because based on how I feel when I look at it every day is how I know where I'm at mentally. If I'm like,
if you're fighting it, you're like, oh shit, this is gonna be a bad day.
I'm like, no,
get your bitch ass in there right now.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe I can sit the sauna today. I'll sit cold shower in the locker room. And then it's like, no, bitch, this is exactly the day you need to be jumping in this.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I'm a firm believer in that, bro. You got to push in the uncomfortability to get that growth.
Yeah, it's so crazy that we have to, like, what we're doing now. And there isn't, a lot of men just don't have meaningful relationships they can share stuff with. And he was like, yeah, the 8 minutes. Like, do you have a buddy you can say that you just unload on for 8 minutes? What I used to do, because I didn't really have my best friend was like out of state. What I used to do is I used to go to bars. I walk into a bar, someone wanted to talk to me, even if it was a woman or a guy, whatever. I would unload everything on them, and then I'd Irish goodbye.
I love that.
I would just leave. I was like, oh man, I feel so much better. And then that was my therapy. That was my therapy. I'd go and just like, my fucking life is this. I'm sorry, and I'm not sorry at the same time, but I hope you have a nice evening. See you later.
But yeah, I think that's common. I think that when I drive by these dive bars, on a Tuesday and it's 9 o'clock at night and it's packed, I feel like that's what's going on in there. Cause I've been that guy when I was drinking where it's like, I thought I just like talking to strangers. It's like, bro, you just don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah, for sure. You don't have anybody to talk to. That sucks, man. I hate that for guys that they don't feel like they can actually have. I mean, even in your friend group, you can pull up. I guarantee you can. There's probably 5 guys in your friend group, and you read all 5, and you're just like, nope, maybe. This one's better. Like you can say something to and not have to worry about being judged. Like hey, look, dude. Hard. Like it could be something simple, like, bro, I have ED. What the fuck do I do? And you're like so experienced, like you're like, and so afraid to talk. It was like, oh, your dick doesn't work. That's immediate judgment.
Yeah.
I had this sad conversation yesterday with my dad, talking about men going to my med spa in Clearwater and how a lot of men aren't comfortable with, talking about hair loss. And I'm like, and I even said, maybe because I've got the healthcare background, I'm more comfortable, but it's like, bro, not to be vulgar, we all have the same toolbox. Man.
We are more alike than we are different, by the way. That's crazy.
But I'm always of the type, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying we all naturally get embarrassed, but if I have a problem and there's an established solution, I can get my fucking pride out of the way. I just want to attack the problem, Like,
no, but that's all we want to do as men. We want to fix shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we never look too far enough inside ourselves to actually get that thing that we need fixed.
Right.
When all anger is just our boundaries in some way being crossed that happened in our past life, not what's current in front of you. Like you can be angry at the person that you charged it, like, hey, I want you to fix this and do it the way I want it to be done. And they do it a completely different way, which pisses you off. And then, hey, that's not his fault. He just found another way to do it that was probably a little bit better, easier, and you just got mad because he didn't do it your way. So there's a lot of it, man. I don't know. We need meaningful relationships. That's what it comes back to.
Michael, where can everybody keep up with Sovereign Journey and you personally?
You can keep up with me at strong_surfing_yogi. That's my IG. www.sovereign-journey.com is our website. We're rebuilding their brand right now, and this is the actual brand right here. And that's the 2 locations. Also, my business partner Keith at Keith Kemp Breath is Keith Kemp as well. If you guys want to reach out to me, Michael.Hernandez at sovereign-journey.com.
Awesome, man. We'll have all that in the show notes as well.
I appreciate that.
If you're listening, we'll have it there. You can find it in the show notes. Any final thoughts, Chris?
I'm just a huge fan of what you're doing, brother. You know that.
I appreciate it, man.
I think, I'm excited to see these seeds being planted of what it's going to do for the future generations and how it's.
No doubt.
I mean, dude, I feel like it's guys like you swinging the pendulum back in the way it needs to go.
Dude, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, bro.
Also, thank you for letting me come on here, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for
you guys
coming.
have a good platform, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, guys.
And Ryan, I want to get you on a retreat. So if you can get Chris to get you, and both of you, we'll get you out of fucking Alaska, because that's going to be a big one.
All right.
Give yourself 5 days, Ryan, to give stuff to yourself,
I'm down if you're down.
Really,
you make it work.
up on that one. Yeah, no.
I'm leaving. I'm putting you on the spot right now, but I'm doing it on purpose.
That's all right. I'd love to go to Alaska. You want to find us, guys, the vacaypodcast.com. You can find Chris and I on Instagram as well. Chris Hansen. I'm Ryan Alford. We'll see you next time on the Vacay Podcast.